Hello, welcome nerds and naysayers to episode 33 of I'd Rather Be Motivated. Welcome to your spoiler-free, safe evening. You can chill with us. We won't talk about anything that we're not supposed to, so don't worry there. I am Scott O Green here with David Fleming. We are the creators of I'd Rather Be Drawing.com, and this is our weekly art check show where we keep in touch with each other and you guys to keep you informed and each other on where we are with our current projects and just making sure to keep each other motivated and keep our eyes on the prize. How are you doing this week, David?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, I got a lot of cool stuff to share, art-wise, project-wise, all the above. I guess we always start off by doing our little thing. So, yeah, I'm Mr. David Fleming over here. You can find me at Art of Mr. Fleming on Instagram. That's Fleming with one M, and Mr. David Fleming on Facebook. How about you, man?
For me, when I'm not here on YouTube, you can find me Facebook. It's I'd Rather Be Drawing as well, or on my Instagram. I'm very active there. That's Mr. Green Draws, Mr. Draws. So yeah, that's me. How you been?
Man, so it's been a minute since we checked in. We did it last week, but it just feels like it's been forever. I had a really long week. It was my daughter's 4th birthday on Tuesday.
Congrats.
Did fun stuff there, did fun stuff yesterday, did fun stuff today. It's just been kind of a crazy week and weekend. Just got back from Chuck E. Cheese like not even an hour ago.
Oh man, that's a full day right there.
Do what?
That's a full day right there.
Oh yeah, seriously though. Yeah, so I'm a little bit out of it in terms of just like, whew, I gotta go to sleep and try and get back into the routine and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. How's your week?
Not bad at all. As far as like work goes, you guys have probably heard I had some just rough stuff with a coworker there. That coworker's gone to another place. That makes it seem like they died. They didn't die. They just got transferred. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think I know they're no longer with us. I said that. Yeah, they're no longer with us. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that was a good week. And yeah, last night my wife and I went to the 11 o'clock IMAX showing of Endgame. That's all I'll say, I swear. But needless to say, this morning I still woke up earlier around the time like I usually do, and I've been pretty exhausted all day, but feeling good. We had a wonderful time. So it's been a good week, and with that kind of transition between projects, I kind of let myself have a little bit of peace with that, and had a good week. Had some nice moments. So yeah. So just jumping in, we oftentimes start with the 3 Ps. First is progress. Since we talked last week, David, what's your progress been?
All right, you ready for it?
Let's hear it.
The book has been sent to the printer, and the proof will be here May 7th.
Woo! Congrats, man. That's huge.
Yeah, it's super awesome. Actually, I have a cool thing to share with you all. Remind me to send that to you tomorrow if I don't. The website I'm using does this really cool thing for you upload your files, and it puts the print marks on them and lets you kind of double check to make sure the text is out of the cut zone and that kind of stuff. And I'm doing the soft cover, so it's gonna matter. So it kind of lets you know if you're kind of in danger of losing some important information to the gutter kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so it took me a couple of days actually to kind of get everything situated, because I did upload it the first time and saw a couple of different things. A couple of different ways I formatted my fonts showed up weird in the preview, which got me a little triggered. So I cleaned up that a little bit just to be safe. I've been printing myself at school as test prints too, and they looked kind of all right, but that just made me think I should probably just make sure things are cleaned up. So it was Thursday when I sent that off. I'm super excited. The other thing it does, so after that, it makes an actual PDF that you get to view through that has their trim marks. And then when you're done with that, it makes a really cool digital book, a literal thing where it puts the spreads together and flips the page, actually looks like pages. And when you click it, it flips through.
That's cool.
Yeah, it looks super awesome. I was going to send it to you just as a preview. You can't really read it because the fonts themselves, they don't pick up super well and that kind of stuff, because in comics, the fonts are relatively small and they print, you know what I mean? We've run into that. I remember when we were doing our first couple of times, comics actually look much nicer with smaller printed font than with big giant font.
Yeah.
So it's not super readable in the preview, but it looks beautiful. So And I was like so stoked when it made that. I was like,
I'm excited to see that.
yeah, I was flipping through and looking at certain spreads, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was imagining the entire time. Like, not that I've ever
You're
felt,
like, it really is a comic.
yeah, and it's not that I've ever felt or thought that like things weren't going to be beautiful or whatever, but it was like I've been drawing on these giant 14 by 10 single pages, and even with spreads, you have to tape it together, but they get separated eventually. And so it was like finally seeing it with the words all ready to go. It was awesome. It took me about a week more than I really thought I would, which I think honestly is pretty good timing. There was a lot of revisions to like font box style, like kind of like design choices, because it's like as I was going through the process, I'd get to a certain page and be like, oh, wait a minute. Like, what if I did this with my boxes? And then it was like, oh, crap. And I got to go back through every page and change this.
Gotcha.
So there's a couple of those.
It's nice still being able to save a little bit of room for experimentation or just something else, not being too rigid, I'd say.
Yeah. And that's kind of why it was fun, though, too. It was sometimes it was frustrating, but sometimes it was like, it's the doing it yourself and self-publishing and stuff, and just the way I would definitely say the way I made this first comic, I could not have made like any other way, because I did so much just like last on the fly edits and things where I was like, I'm gonna go and do it like this now because I can, you know. But it feels good.
One of the beautiful things that Jim Rugg from that, I'm been a big fan of him, so I'll be bringing it up a lot, I'm sure. But Cartoonist Kayfabe, and Jim Rugg talks about that, why comics are such a cool medium. There's lots of different mediums where teamwork can come up with like a cool, awesome thing, but comics is one of the only things where like a singular vision from start to finish can really be accomplished when one artist does everything, the font and the drawing and the penciling and the writing, and from beginning to end really creates this story, this thing that you can hold and flip through. It's kind of a unique experience. It can't happen with movies or television or animation or a lot of other stuff. So it's kind of a beautiful thing about the medium.
Yeah, that's definitely real. That's honestly part of why I have fallen in love with the process. Like loving comics first and then doing it yourself, and then realize like I love animation, and like I love watching like just like Into the Spider-Verse is literally my favorite movie like ever. Like I'm so stoked that Ellie is like Spider-Man right now, because literally I get to just like play it as a cartoon, and then I'm like, it's my thing. Like
that's awesome.
Like, she's like completely in love with Spider-Gwen right now. She went to Build-A-Bear and bought the Spider-Gwen hoodie for her bear, and it was like totally her choice. It was like, pick anything in the store, and she was like, Spider-Gwen. So like that was
awesome.
That was a pretty awesome moment for me as a dad.
Heck yeah.
But and then she got the Spider-Man book from the for her like 4-year appointment checkup thing, and she got a Spider-Man book, and we were reading through it, and she was like, "Where's Spider-Gwen?" So then I jumped on Amazon for her birthday and found a little like chapter kids book that had her in it, so we could read it.
That's awesome. Because yeah, like that's pretty cool. Because to her and her generation, that's not like a new character. That's just like that's just a canon, always was, equal to Spider-Man in every way, which is like how it was designed. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think so too. Like it's awesome. She does all these things all the time where I'm like, I had nothing to do with this, but I'm so stoked that you're into this. But
it helps, I'm sure.
Yeah, so with all that in mind, the sort of summary of that thought was I'm excited because I have a design aspect now. Like I feel like the book is awesome. Like as much as I could, and not hiring somebody else to do it, and what I can do, like the design of the book just feels like really cool and solid. And I'm just really stoked because now I kind of have this template for the next 2 books for like the whole series. Like I don't have to worry about that part next time. I'm able to just like stick the new title font into this cool style, and stick the new thing into this and that into that. Like with that in mind, like 10 pages probably of the new book are kind of already designed for me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I've shared this a little bit, but in between the chapters, there's like that TV screen that I always share, where it's like the little VHS TV screen, and there's like a paragraph inside of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's like a really cool way, because I've read in the past and have followed people who do this really cool thing where they combine the prose writing thing of like paragraph style with comics. I I think you read it, the Tooth and Claw, the Autumn Lands.
Yeah.
Like that cool thing they did at the beginning of every book or every issue where there's like the big paragraph with the cool illustration behind it. Like things like that are what inspired me to do that. But like, so that's like really cool because I've already designed that. So, and I've already written 2 of the paragraphs for the next book too. So it's like, there's like a cool, like some of it writes and designs itself, and brings me to my next part, which is this guy that I've had up right here. Something I have admittedly never really done, which is sit down and design characters. So this is like shape building exercises. I'm watching a lot of YouTube artists here and some other people talk about this, and so I tried it out. Like I just sat down with certain designs in mind and just using really simple shapes and stuff to build these like characters, and just kind of like what I understand of anatomy and my style. I kind of made this little character thing, but like these are not all new characters. I just did this to find one character kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like completely okay with tossing out these other ones. Like these 2 right here are what I fell on for characters that might show up. So this character right here is a character, and that's actually what I'm going to start inking here in a minute. That was kind of in my zone. I wanted to show this. So this is the one I picked, and I turned it into this.
Ooh, nice. That was my favorite just from looking on my computer screen here. He's the most strikingly different.
Yeah. So she is going to be one of the generals. So I think I might actually make her the villain of book 2. Like she might be the main villain of book 2. And so that was really cool because I spent a couple days just thinking out the process and thinking out the design. And I feel like I made a really strong thing from it. And I'm going to do some screen tone on here to finish up this drawing so I can post it tomorrow. But that was really satisfying because I have admittedly kind of just like sat down to draw, and I'm minorly happy with it sometimes or super happy with it. And I kind of just move on and say, cool, all right, made a character, time to put him in the book. Like I admit to a couple of the things that happen in the book happening just like the day of, and me just being, all right, time to draw page 12. It's got to look like this.
Yeah. And that can work out sometimes, but seeing kind of the benefit of exploring something and seeing what you can come up with a few drafts and stuff is pretty cool too.
Yeah, and so I gave myself a little bit of a goal, knowing now how long it took me like to draw, like realistically, like how many months it's going to take me to start making actual pages. I kind of have a goal of taking the next like few months as I'm having another job that I'm going to start probably here in the next few weeks. But like as I go, I'm going to kind of do this kind of thing. Like I'm going to kind of almost design and start building and planning the thing so it doesn't have to happen.
Development type work.
Yeah, exactly. And like actually start to like maybe cut and plan panels, like just penciling out like things like for the actual second book too, and kind of like start putting them in the notebook and all that kind of stuff. And kind of just like, so when I started in October, I guess it was technically August, I did that analog August thing where I spent that month, and then September I kind of skipped out, and then October is when I started actually drawing the actual like first page and panel, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like that was it. Like I had my ideas written in a document on a computer, and I had a couple of characters. Like to be honest too, like probably 3 of the 5 or 6 or 7 characters that show up in the book were just like, all right, someone else needs to show up on this page, so here's a robot. So I'm going to try to avoid that a little bit more in the second book and just put a lot more time and effort on the back end so that everything just kind of goes smoother.
That's awesome, man. Sounds like you're in a good position.
Well, that was my week, so it's up to you now, man.
Yeah, so just real quick, wanted to say hey to Ace and Red in the chat. Do appreciate you guys there. And if anyone else watching this, you should check out their channel and go and subscribe. Ace has an awesome comic review. It's Comic Den, comic review site channel. Sorry, and Red's in the middle of his 100 Days challenge now, so you should follow those guys for sure.
Yeah, and Ace just posted a new episode like yesterday.
Oh, nice. I'll have to check it out. Did you see that thing? Speaking of which, just real quick, Jason Latour posted on Instagram. He's the creator of one of the creators behind Spider-Gwen and the artist and sometimes writer of Southern Bastards. And he posted a thing on his Instagram where someone had asked Samuel L. Jackson in an interview what his favorite comic book was. And that dude's cooler than we thought because he goes right now, which is an awesome beginning to that answer, implying that he wasn't just going to pick whatever character, oh, Spider-Man or whatever.
Right.
But he said, right now, Southern Bastards. And that was awesome. So Sam Jackson enjoys good comics. And then he was like another picture that showed like Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse wearing a Spider-Gwen t-shirt. So just once again, really happy for that guy. If you guys don't know Jason Latour, you should definitely check him out. His art style is like nobody else's out there. Last name is Latour. Check him out. Anyway, as for me, I'm doing okay too. So it was kind of a planning week. Like I said, I had turned in my pages last week, and there's a couple other wrap-up things coming up I'll go over in plans. But a big part of my week was getting my art junk together. So like all of my supplies and all of the scrap papers and all of the finished artwork and this and that had just accumulated into piles, shoved in my closet, stacked underneath my art desk, and it just kind of been all over. And a couple weeks ago, I pulled all of that stuff out so I could sort it, and then my back kind of was messed up. So that's just been staring at me for like a few weeks, just all that junk. Well, happily, I finally got through all that and got it picked up and organized, and already feeling a lot better, and kind of getting myself to a place where I'm really excited to sit down at the table and draw, really excited to start the next project and roll into it, because I feel like everything's sorted a little bit better. Everything's at my fingertips a little bit easier. My hundreds of sketchbooks are sorted, all of that kind of stuff, which is good. And then I updated. I started this guy a while ago, and then wasn't following through great, but I got a calendar for a kind of mark off every day you work on stuff sort of a thing. And I've got this, we call it the murder board in the past, but I guess that was the whiteboard with the other stuff. But this is my Darth board. I don't know if you can see this very well at all, but I just have all these different things. It's kind of something to remind me every day. I hope I don't know. It's just like all the different categories. It's starting to get hard for me to keep all the different things straight. You have 1,000 ideas, and it's not just comic projects. It's websites and everything else under the sun, and ideas for YouTube and all that. So to keep it straight, I just kind of divided up all those categories of things I want to be working on, and then just sort of started a list going across of what's the first thing I need to do towards this end, sort of a thing. So I've got that kind of filled out and up to date. The only thing sort of left to do that I'd like to do that is, maybe I'll wait for that in problems to talk about. But so this was kind of important for me to figure out and get this up to date. Like I said, this week's been a bit of a planning week, and I'm feeling good about that. I think that's most of yeah, that's another problem. Maybe I'll just problems. Should I just roll into problems? I feel like
why don't you go first for problems?
Not that it's like that many, just kind of like, especially since we talked last week. But anyway, so with my schedule, it's still something that changes from week to week. But I really want to at least figure out, like, on Sundays, we always meet up. So this is my contribution to YouTube. If I'm able to do something else, at least I have like a consistent YouTube posting once a week, Maybe Mondays, since I have like that social drawing thing I go to, say, okay, Mondays is like sketchbook day. So just beginning of the week, do something for fun in the sketchbook. Maybe Tuesday's scripting day, that sort of thing. So I'm trying to figure out how to make a little bit more of a rigid schedule, because now I kind of have written down all the stuff I want to be working on, but I want to kind of be working on that stuff efficiently. And pick what you're going to work on before you sit down. Well, something that could help that is if I know, every Tuesday is such and such day,
Right.
Trying to kind of figure that part out, but I'm not great at that part. So especially with the schedule that changes a little bit from time to time. So that's one sort of challenge, we'll call it, not so much a problem. Another challenge is, as I told you last week, I submitted my form to try to be in the Bellingham Comic-Con. I had looked around for stuff here and there for some hint of this is coming soon, and never saw anything. It's not till October. So I finally just emailed the contact thing, was like, hey, I'm interested. He merely just sent back, here's the application. So I was like, cool. So I got that filled out and I sent it back. I think it was like 2 to 3 days later, and maybe that's just enough timing that's my bad. Maybe he took a look at my stuff with the websites I put on there and was like, not for us. I'm not sure exactly, but I got back that they're all kind of filled up and they fill up quick, which I have heard at my drawing thing. One of the artists there says that she had a table there for 7 years and wasn't able to get a table this year. So I think it is like, I think they've grown definitely beyond the sort of small space that they have, but I don't think that, I don't know if that just keeps them able to keep it like really selective and kind of close-knit community. So now I'm just kind of setting my sights towards trying to find some other cool small zine cons or monster cons or, you know, whatever. Just try to sink my teeth into some other stuff, because that was a bit of a bummer, kind of finding out that.
I was actually going to say something like that. Like you've got your like monster zine and have like your horror themed things. Like you could probably look a little bit outside the scope of just straight like comic convention stuff and zine. Like you could look into zine stuff because your stuff is super like DIY and stuff like that looking and stuff, you know.
Yeah, so I know there's got to be some other avenues, even if I got to drive an hour to 3 hours, like that's not that bad. And especially if it's something where I can just cruise for like a day sort of a show or something like that. So yeah, I just got to really start looking around now that I've got some books coming and everything. I'm pretty excited to really start trying to peddle those, you know.
How do you know the information on this? But you might not know this answer. But with the anthology, are you guys all getting a certain amount of copies of it or anything? Like, do you know any of those kind of details?
No, because essentially the way it'll work is we set like a relatively low goal, and we just try to fund that, and then anything extra that we fund, all that money just goes towards more books. So we just are going to print as many books as possible depending on how much we fund. And then at that point, they'll just get divvied up among the artists evenly or whatnot. So we really kind of won't, so we really kind of won't know how many we'll have until it's time. The cool thing is we're on kind of a tight deadline to get it done by this time, but I think the beginning of July is San Diego Comic-Con, and Gaz Gretzky, also known as Gazbot, Gazbot. Check him out here on YouTube and everywhere online. But he's going to San Diego Comic-Con, and if we can get it done in time, he's going to be taking that book there. So essentially, possibly, some of my work could be at San Diego Comic-Con. Not saying it would be like the thing in the book that somebody was flipping through it, they go, oh, who is this? But you know what I mean. It's still pretty damn exciting, and to be a part of that is really, really cool. So jazzed about that. And so there's like a possible like trading card that we might need to do as like a little bit of a stretch goal thing, or a bookmark, or donate some pages for some bigger tiers or something like that. But yeah, so we'll see when the time comes. But I'll definitely keep you all informed when that Kickstarter comes. And just so you know what that is, I've been a little vague if you haven't kind of been with us before. I submitted a 4-page contribution. Essentially was able to submit 4 pages of a comic to an anthology called Werewolves, Unicorns, and Other Mythical Creatures. And it's created by The 100 Group. So if you search hashtag The100s, THEE100S, or hashtag The100s Anthology, or hashtag Werewolves and Unicorns, you'll find a whole bunch, like 30 artists who have been contributing towards this thing. We've all put in 4 pages. From people like me who are just here trying to get things rolling, doing things by hand, to people just like that who are doing web comics, to folks who are in the National Cartoonist Society and things like that are in the book, and professionals from the biz. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. So as that comes up, I'll be keeping you informed when that Kickstarter starts. I think about a month away or so.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm definitely gonna support it.
Oh, and hey, Matt. Nice to see you. Matthew Enstrom is here. A contributor as well, and a YouTuber. You guys should check out his channel. He's an awesome artist, so check him out. Good seeing you. But yeah, what have been your sort of trials and tribulations this week?
Well, I guess I did accidentally share that one too, but it was just sort of the I'm like a perfectionist. Definitely, I could definitely say that easily and kind of admit it that I like, it's just so easy when you're like design. It's like that. It's the curse and the great thing about that thing you were talking about, which is like when you control it all, you can change anything you want, and it's your vision from beginning to end. And that's also kind of like a curse, because then you're like, all right, it's all up to me to make sure that this thing actually is this like beautiful, awesome masterpiece. And like, oh, but like the text boxes could be white, the text boxes could be black, the text boxes could be white and black with a little bit of transparent. You know, like there's just so many options and so many things. And so
yeah, I totally feel that one, man.
I went through that phase here this last week, as I was like finally ready to like finalize and send things away, because it was like, because that's like, that is literally real. It was like I had done all the text boxes just super standard white with, you know, standard border, and we went all the way around, and it was just like flipping through my book, it just didn't feel right to just be like white with a black stroke, you know, because it was just like the words were just popping off the page like too much. Like I have a certain style, and it was like, and it's definitely a bit rugged, if that, or I don't know, I guess that's a good word for it. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
it was looking kind of weird and stiff. And so I took the stroke off, and it was like, I wasn't sure if that was working. And then I added some opacity to the actual white, and I was like, oh, that's it. I love that. And then I did that with the no stroke also. And it was like, oh my gosh. And it was just like, when I saw it, it clicked, and it was awesome. But it was like, it went through a couple of different, like, first I did one thing, and then I did like 5 new pages, and then I did another thing. And so I had to keep going back and like fixing the old pages once the style had changed, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there were some pages where it was like, oh, but like all white with no border on this page isn't really working. And so sometimes I had to put just a very, very thin border on. And like, so I had to like, there was just like a little bit of that. But in the end, it was like, I don't know, it looks awesome. Like narration bubbles, my speech bubbles, like everything is just like, it's on point. It's exactly how I imagined it. Like the book is, in my opinion, like exactly what I thought I'd be making when I sat down to make it. And that's a really good feeling, because that happens all too often when our critical eye is just not quite where we thought it was going to be. And then we had this insane vision and then feel disappointed by it. But I don't know, I just really feel like I made what I could make at the time, and now I'm stoked moving forward to do even better for the next one.
That's really cool, man. I think that's a great attitude to have as well. That's tough to kind of deal with all those little choices, man.
Oh my gosh, seriously, that is because
of choices or something like that they call it. I forget, but
yeah, and then I have to commit to this and spend all this money that I just kickstarted buying 250 copies of this thing, and then they're gonna come in, and I'm not allowed to make changes after that. Like, that's why it was so stressful.
Oh, for sure. And if you're looking at this being sort of the design of the books to come, you know, you're figuring out stuff beyond just this design, but investing in the future design too.
Yeah.
So, well, there's a lot to figure out, that's for sure. And yeah, I was just going to say, even like when you do a decent amount of digital stuff, you still, as we see here all the time, you do a lot of by hand. And I think the ultimate feel is still a very tangible art, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, actually.
Yeah, and so then sometimes with that, whether it's by hand or that type of feel of art, to then do digital font on top of it, I have seen in my own work and some other stuff sometimes how it does become a jarring thing where I don't know if it really makes sense why it should be that way, because everything gets scanned in the computer, so why should it make a difference? But it's almost like the text bubbles, like, you know, they glow and float above the art and just feels attached and cold and stiff, like you said. So I'm really excited for you that you kind of spotted that and was able to kind of course correct while going and avoid that. So good on you, man.
Yeah, you put all the perfect words to it. It's like this weird, it was just this weird jarring effect that was just like what, okay, I know this thing is awesome and beautiful, but why do I
you know what, someone recently, you know how like certain things are like real bad faux pas, like the first comic I did, I 100% just used the font that like everyone was like, oh my god, I can't believe you used that one. What's the, like, just the
Comic Sans?
Yeah, yeah. I was just like, oh, that's the comic font, sweet, and I used it and I pasted it in, and I don't regret it. Like I just need to be able to make a comic, and I couldn't wrap my head around anything else. But you learn those things and move on. But something that Alex Chung, Chung, I've met him a couple times, and he's on social media a lot. He's a comic writer. What he sort of found out and learned from somebody else, because on his business card he had a real cool, simple logo of a voice bubble. With like an exclamation point in it. I really like it. It was awesome, but a few people gave him feedback who were like designers in the biz that were like, oh, you did your voice bubbles in Photoshop, didn't you? And he's like, yeah. And apparently Photoshop has a bad way of like, they're too perfect, I guess. They're just, they have too much of like a point oval to them. They're just too perfectly oval or something like that. But in some of the other programs, they almost have a little bit of like a square bent to their ovalness, or we'll just have something else. Apparently, to some people, that's another one of those faux pas, like the Photoshop voice bubbles. I don't know a whole lot about it, and I kind of ended up just drawing mine on the last one. But I don't know; those little things are kind of interesting to learn as you go along and try to avoid some of the missteps or learn from them in one way or another. I don't know.
I'm not like completely against them, because I do think that perfectness works for some styles, but I had to go back through for some pages. I left them because it wasn't super jarring, but like take the warp tool and kind of like stretch and bend the ovals to make them look like they'd been done by hand, because I did it all in Illustrator, so it was very like a robot just made that circle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I did. I had used the warp tool to kind of fake that I had drawn them by hand a little bit, because I'm not like, I would never like shame someone for their perfect circles, but it definitely was also a thing that wasn't working in my book.
Yeah. Well, that makes
Weird
sense.
thing nowadays. I think it's like an old way of thinking, is that like there were traditions and ways of doing it, but nowadays it just feels like you just do exactly what works for you. It doesn't matter what program you used or what technique you used or what font you used. If it looks good, it looks good. Like,
for sure.
Most faux pas or things I definitely exist because they didn't look good. And, I think that all stems too from like traditional ways of doing things before we had like digital options. They like, oh, you used the circle template, didn't you? And then you didn't actually trace over with your hand after, things like that. Like,
yeah,
well, that looks sloppy. It looks like you made a robot make your circles, which is like also kind of real, but for some people's style that can work.
Yeah, absolutely. So plans, shall we just roll right into that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, you may go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know. So I want to finish nailing down, and probably tonight after we get off here, I want to put a bit more thought towards it, just getting a little bit more of a days of the week. This is what I'm going to want to work on thing. I still operate a little bit too often of what do I feel like doing right now? And if I just take that decision making out of it and treat it a little bit more like school, I think it could work out in my favor. So I want to figure that out. Also tonight or pretty darn soon, I need to, there's like a short creator bio thing that I honestly had kind of forgotten about, associated with those 4 pages for the Werewolves and Unicorn comic. I need to get that filled out. And then Corey Kerr, I know I'm spelling a lot of names, but I want you guys to find these people, even if I don't get them posted right away below. Get my technology back, so I'm hoping to get all the posts going again. But anyway, Corey Kerr, Coreykerr, is going to be putting together like a video for us for the Kickstarter, I think. So everyone's kind of recording a part for that. So I got to do that and get that sent in right away, because I don't want to be, late to the ball. So besides that, yeah, just keep. Oh yeah, and then I need to begin October. October begins this week. That's the little bit every day. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out with the schedule thing, because I want to be working on all these other things all the time too. But I need to start really like putting a lot of time towards the October comic, and that will start off with reading through my rough draft that I wrote of the script, and starting with writing a second draft and beginning there. So that's my big plans for next week. How about you?
So I remember I talked about this a little bit earlier, I know, in a show, and I haven't brought it back up because I'm finally free again. But I've got a guy who might want me to do some drawing, like full-on pages, and kind of help him with design of a comic that he's been wanting to write forever. So I'm going to get in contact with him and talk a little bit more shop with him, because we'd already kind of unofficially talked, and I kind of threw out some rates and things and told him how expensive it would be, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm down. Like that's not an object for me. Let's do this thing." And so I got to get back in contact with him and kind of just make sure he's still in the same place. I sent him a message a week or two ago saying like, "Hey, I'm getting close," and he was like, "Yeah, hit me up when you're ready for me." So I gotta I've been doing a bunch of research on like writing up actual like contracts and kind of that kind of thing, because it's a guy I met through a friend, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just smart.
Do what?
And it's just a smart idea.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like my first real like official, like not just like guy wants a single drawing commission, so I just drew it and then he paid me. It's gonna be like a long haul if I do it, kind of thing. So like I'm gonna have to like make up actual like this thing and all kinds of stuff that I've been thinking about and looking up, which is like, you know, like a lot of people talk about like revisions. Like you have to upfront tell the guy like like I will do these sketches and you can tell me to do whatever the heck you want, but once I start inking, like it'll cost it, like does it cost more if I have to re-ink and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna get in contact with them and probably do this. This is how we talked the first time. I kind of just did like a hangout with them on Facebook for a bit and just work out the details and see where we're at, and then write up my first official contract if he's in. So that's it's gonna be fun. Hopefully I get a hold of him.
Very cool. It seems like a situation where it's nothing. You're not really needing it for money. You're not really needing it for a creative outlet. It just could definitely give you experience that is useful. So if you're writing up a contract, it almost seems like, not like try to take advantage in any way, but just make it exactly what you would want it to be. Because it doesn't seem like it's something where you're like, man, I just need to get some work. Which I think is good for artists to kind of, be able to play ball from your end of it, I guess, you know. $1 million. Yes, Ace, you are going to demand $1 million.
That's a good segue to let's check comments and see if there's any questions or anything.
Yeah, Ace actually asked, Fleming, did you write out an actual script or just take notes and write?
Awesome. So I think we talked about this a little bit in our like how we make comics thing, but I do not do straight up official scripts. I do more of like what do you call that? The words on the tip of my tongue. Do what?
Thumbnails?
Well, yes, thumbnails, but what do you call it when it's like a
rough draft?
You hire the guy to do like all the visual like little
storyboards.
Yes, I kind of storyboard more than I script, and then on the sides of my storyboard is like where I write out the things that people will say, but even that isn't like super specific. It's more of like, on this page the conversation is, on this page the conversation is that leads into this, because when I actually do my planning of what goes into the actual bubbles, I print off my pages after I've kind of scanned them in and formatted them. And then I take sticky notes and I go through the whole book with sticky notes and like basically cut out circle comic panels and write it in and think about the design of, this looks good with two bubbles here. That means the bubble needs to be down here. So expand this conversation out into there and stuff like that. That's how I've, since I did my first few into these, it's how it's always worked for my brain. I tried writing a straight up script the first time I ever made like my little mini comic, and in the end it felt convoluted, it felt separated, and I ended up writing different stuff anyways, and so it just felt like a step that like isn't working in terms of me doing it independently.
Awesome, man.
So
yeah, I'm kind of waiting to see what my script process is going to be with October. So far what I've done is basically just kind of write a short story and then kind of divide it out into the beats of pages, and then start just kind of storyboarding and scripting it out from there. So I have started from just writing out a story before, but this is going to be, October is definitely going to be the longest form thing I've done. And it is going to be just like a straight comic the whole way. And so, yeah, it'll be kind of the most ambitious thing that I've tried for. So, yeah, that's where I'm just like kind of waiting to see exactly how my process will work out, because my projects before this have been a little bit different. Like the one, it was the story of the band. So, I mean, that was the lyrics, so we'll see. Let's see here. He says, Ace responded saying, I did scripts on issue 2 and killed it this time around. It's crazy to see everyone's process. Scott, what's yours? I guess I just kind of answered that a little bit. So we'll kind of see. But yeah, writing a short story and kind of picking it out from there, which apparently I have kind of found out is somewhat common with writer artists, I found. We all kind of know how to just write a short story, just kind of get it all out there. So it's a good place to start.
Awesome. Sorry, I got like myself in a different zone here. I was like listening to you, but like walking around my studio getting ink, and now I'm using a sticky note because I don't have any napkins down here to like wipe my finger off.
Oh, that's what that is?
Yeah, is it like super loud? I'm like wiping my splatter finger off.
It's ridiculous and unacceptable. That was much better.
Sorry, I wasn't close enough to the mic.
That's okay.
All right, there you
go.
go.
So just something I'm thinking about to kind of earn a few extra bucks with art and get used to that idea too of like art for a deadline sort of thing is, do you remember the Scaredy Cat portraits I did for the Isabel Crane comic?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I thought about a while ago offering that as like a commission sort of a thing, which I think could be really fun. Which I'm going to get weird for y'all out there, just in case you don't know. What I'm talking about is when you take a light like this and like all scared, right? Like when you're doing a flashlight for a scary story. So I did the portraits of all the bandmates that way. I had them go in a completely dark room, shine a flashlight up that way, and then snap a picture of that, and then drew those extreme white and black shapes as a portrait for them, looking just super scared with a silly face on. And I really enjoyed doing that and got a good response from it, and thought that could be a fun way to offer commissions to folks with like a set idea, instead of just going, commissions are open, I'll draw anything you want. But it'd be kind of a specific thing that's even kind of that intimate, like I'll draw you as a zombie sort of a thing. But a self-portrait thing without it just being like a straight draw this photo reference,
Mm-hmm.
So I've been thinking about that as a way to make money. And I was thinking like do it like on about a 10 by 10 size, completely inked. What would you think would be a good cost for that? People don't talk about cost of artwork enough. Do you think like 25?
If I don't know, if I was doing a 10 by 10, I'd be doing my normal rates, but what I usually do is 50 for anything of like super custom. If I do smaller than that, I might more like the 25, 30 range. I do like 9 by 12 is my usual like $50 price. And if I do like 8 by 10 or like 5 by 7 small stuff, it's more like 20, 25 kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I do the same thing a lot of folks do, where like I'm afraid to like ask for money, and then like too much money. But it is, yeah, you're right. Like, and I'm not a super fast artist or anything, but not that I want to charge like a per hour rate or anything. But yeah, maybe closer to like 40, 50, maybe 4. I feel a little bit more comfortable with like 40 maybe.
Like in terms of talking about,
because then with shipping, maybe it could be like 50, and free shipping or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I always do free shipping on commission stuff, and I make the price what I expect with shipping in terms of like I know I'll ship it.
Gotcha. Because I think it could be a lot of fun, especially like coming up on the Halloween season, and I mean I know we're a ways away, but for folks like me, it's always in your heart. But I think that I think it could be a fun, interesting way to do it, and it's fun to draw. So I don't know.
So I kind of like
do like a couple more that are to really kind of showcase this is exactly what I'm talking about and get yourself done. I think that's all it takes, right?
Yeah. My personal opinion when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I'm not even like I'm not awesome bomb diggity dog. Everyone is contacting me all the time. Like I get like 1 or 2 commissions a month kind of thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But like I would rather just set like a reasonable price that I know I want to do my work for, and only have 2 people contact me, than feel like I'm selling it cheap and have 4 people contact me.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
then I'm doing the same job 4 times for the same price. Like, I mean, even like one person contacts me, but I'm charging what I know I want to. You know what I mean? Like I ran into that when I was early doing, because I used to like logo commission stuff, and I'm kind of I say no to that stuff now because it's just not. I'd rather be doing, and at this point, just because I'm not doing this for my livelihood, I'm doing this because I love it. But like, I'd rather just say no to a really lame job, knowing it frees me up to do all this other stuff that works towards a bigger goal.
Yeah, that makes sense. We are in a unique position with our day jobs to be able to do that. And that makes sense.
Yeah. There's too many jobs that I've said yes to where right after I said yes, and I'm sitting there drawing it, and the guy's like, "Oh, redo it, but more like this," and I'm just like, "Why did I say yes to this? Well, this is garbage." What like, and I'm not trying to like have like a bad attitude or anything about it, but it's just like if you're not doing what you love with it, it's like, because it's like people don't talk enough, I think, about that, and about just like sometimes you just need to say no to lame jobs, or if you have a cool idea for commissions like you have, then like make sure you're charging enough to make it worth it, and you're not. $20, and then you get 4 people in, and you're like, sweet. And then your next month is only full of that. And then all those October plans and all those other awesome independent things you want to do get pushed on the back burner for 1 more month.
And the money is something that you like, go to McDonald's a couple times or go out to dinner, and you're like, well, there's that week's worth of work. Yeah, that makes good sense. And if you're playing a drinking game at home, for every time I mention Cartoonist Kayfabe, you can take a drink right now. But Ed Piskor talks about that in the comic business and other businesses or whatever, that we kind of you train people how to treat you, so if you're charging underprice on stuff, that's what people are going to expect from you and from other artists as well, and they're going to undervalue what you do and what other artists do, so when you don't get contracts in places when you should get contracts, and you don't get paid on stuff that you should get paid, and you don't retain rights on stuff that you should, like we sort of train the business, I guess, and you and me were at the very kind of beginning of it or whatnot, but I think that's this kind of point is like it's got to change at a certain point. Like, don't do pages for people for we'll do $20 a page because when I'm done with this, that'll be like $500, and that's good money. But then when you add up the hours that you've put in, it just does not make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do kind of train people on how to treat us and how much value to place on what we do, and it's especially hard, I think, when you're first starting out, obviously, because you don't know what your value is, and you probably undervalue yourself a lot. So if anything, if you undervalue your work, try not to undervalue your time, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I think it's a good thought to wrap it up on.
Good, because I don't have too many more thoughts left this evening. Endgame took it out of me.
Here's my satisfying end to my result, though. I put that next to each other there one more time. The value of taking time to design my character out. So number 5, the villain of book 2. Look forward to it.
I love how you did is it the flame in the hand there?
Yeah.
With you took you used Zipatone, right, or the screen tones, and then you used just a vinyl eraser.
It was actually it's a sandpaper eraser. It's made for erasing ink.
Oh, okay. So you use a sandpaper eraser. So you could probably get a little piece of sandpaper, or something like that, if you didn't have the special eraser, and then actually erase some of the dots so that it then blends even further in a very by hand way. Beautiful, man. I love how you've really mixed with your robots, but organic and cloth and everything. You really kind of everything you've put into it has kind of had that aesthetic.
Yeah, I'm really finding something with this fun aesthetic of trendy streetwear, robot, human people. It's kind of evolved a little bit, where at first it was wrapped up cloth, which I still do a little bit of that, but now it's a little bit more of trendy kid with his suspenders wrapped around his waist and his cool jacket and all that kind of stuff.
A little bit of vanity on the evil.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a thing. All of the generals have I'm wearing a tracksuit, Adidas, trendy, gaudy, whatever kind of thing you want to call it.
They're like more human than the rest or something.
Yeah, you know, maybe something like that. Yeah, yeah. And then people in the like,
I'm asking the right questions, I think, poking and prodding. I can't wait to read this comic, dude. Hey, and I was going to say, if you can send me a nice sort of panoramic piece of art, I think we need to update some of our imagery on like the I'd Rather Be Drawing Facebook page. My thing's been up there like forever, and you've got this book coming out that's pretty exciting, and I'd Rather Be Drawing should be celebrating it. So I was thinking if you could send that to me, I'll get it uploaded there or whatnot.
That's a good idea. All right, I'll see what I have. Maybe I could do a cool spread or something that's not like a super spoiler spread.
Hey, good night, Red. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Everybody check out Ronnie Gunter and all of his work. He's a great guy and a great artist. So he was just kind of peacing out for the evening. And we enjoy all you guys being here with us in the chat, asking questions, participating. All that stuff always makes it a lot more exciting. If you're catching the show after the fact, if you have any questions or comments or want to poke fun and you know, just make fun of us, well, we welcome all that. Thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe, like, all of that stuff. Take it easy, Matthew. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. He's peacing out as well. We really enjoy you guys being here and appreciate that. If you get a chance to share this anywhere else, yeah, we appreciate all of those things. So, David, when you're not here on our I'd Rather Be Drawing YouTube channel, where can everyone keep up and find your new Apollo graphic novel?
Speaking of that, check the show notes. Link to the Kickstarter, which then links you to my store Envy. You can still pre-order the book. We talked about this in the last one, and I kind of forgot to bring it up again. But I've set up a page to pre-order the book through Store Envy, so you'll still get a copy whenever they come in. Hopefully, well, the date we're looking at is kind of like May 22nd, like in that week there. As long as the proof looks good when it comes in next week, and I send them out before the end of May, I'll be sending books out to all the backers and anybody else who hits the pre-order button.
And I'm an idiot. I call it Apollo just because it's like the main character is Apollo, but the name of that book is called Analog Missions. So yeah, that's what you're looking for, and you'll see it everywhere if you look at David's stuff. So definitely check that out. It's going to be a beautiful book.
All right.
For me,
right. I guess I have to let you talk now, right?
You friggin' jerk. No, it gets confusing because I talk all the time. I'm sorry. So I am Scott O Green. Thanks for hanging out with us here. I'd rather be drawing.com, like he said. Sign up for the newsletter below. We do have free comics there. I'm going to be getting another one uploaded there here pretty soon as well within the next couple weeks. So keep an eye out for more free comics there. And yeah, on Instagram is where you'll find me in IGTV. Mr. Green Draws, mr.greendraws. And that's it for me in this week's episode of I'd Rather Be Motivated.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.